All right. Good morning, senior home business family. How you guys doing today? Happy Wednesday. We got Brittany, we got Matt. We got a great topic for you today, talking about the process for moving into an assisted living community. We're super excited that you are joining us today. We love talking about this business. You probably could tell each and every week we come to you every Wednesday talking about this business because it's a business that's revolutionized our own lives. Not so much just from the money standpoint. You're going to make a lot of money in this industry, but my gosh, just the fulfillment you get, Brittany, just the heart that's just warm, man. You go to bed at night knowing you've helped somebody in time of need. And so that's what we're super excited about in this business, is just helping others, especially seniors. They wake up one day, they've fallen, they've gone to the hospital, they're skilled nursing, or maybe they're at home, their loved one has passed away, and they just need to make a change. And it's just a heartbreaking process at times, but nevertheless, it is a process that people need to go through at times. And so we're going to go through that today, talking about the process for moving into an assisted living community, because this is a process. I know this business used to be, Brittany, we talked about it before, back in 2017 and prior, it used to be a name drop business. Just get a name and number and drop it off at the community. And it's not the case anymore. If you are aspiring to get into this business, you need to fully understand the process. There's a lot of other components that go along with this, but this is the key. If you're going to be successful in this industry, you better know this. If you don't, I don't foresee you being successful in this business. Now, you might luck up a few times, okay? We can all get lucky. Brittany, you've probably been lucky at times. I've been lucky at times. But if you want to have some consistency in this business, you're going to need to know the process. And if you want to know more about this business, all you got to do is drop down, click the link below, and schedule a consultation call with me. I believe we got a webinar link down below as well. You can click that and listen to me and Brittany talk for about an hour. We're going to talk about a little about real estate at the beginning and get into the senior placement business. But we do the real estate side of it, Brittany, because we really see real estate agents, realtors being good in this business. And it's just, you got the heart for seniors. You got to be empathetic. You got to, have all these different strategies in place to be successful. But man, it's just a nice parlay segue into this business. You really can raise your top line substantially as a real estate agent by having this business along with it. And it's not like because some of you are thinking like, oh my gosh, starting another business, that's so much energy, so much effort. I'm going to spend another 40 hours a week. Yeah, Matt, like I really have the time. You really don't have to spend that amount of time in this business to be successful, because it is a high ticket item. All you got to do is, man, get 5, Brittany, you're at $250,000 a year. I mean, it's unreal. So we're super excited about that. Enough of the promo, enough of all the talk, Brittany, but let's get into it. Process for moving into an assisted living. And we're going to get to about 10 or 11 these different kinds of things. So take notes, man. If you're watching this video and maybe you're sitting on the couch and you're watching us on TV, or you're at the office watching us on the computer, or just scrolling, taking a walk, and you're on your phone. Now, if you're doing that, you probably can't do what I'm getting ready to ask, but take notes, man. Get a pen and paper, take some notes, because we're going to do a deep dive into exactly how to do this business. And you're like, oh my gosh, I get it for free. I can't wait. Man, there's a lot of things on YouTube, Brittany, I've got for free. I was like, oh my God, that's great. This guy, I follow David Bayer, and we'll get into maybe him a little bit later on. I love that guy. Just been started following him for like last 4 or 5 weeks. And my wife has been following him. We've been doing a lot of different things through his videos, and it prompted me to order a book. And I got a book coming from David coming in tomorrow, man, about a changed mind. So it's not a promo on David, but man, if you want to follow that guy, it's pretty amazing. This is his story, because his story is 10 years ago, flat broke, on the verge of bankruptcy, if not bankrupt. He has all kinds of different trials, different things going in his life, and a lot of limiting beliefs. And now 10 years later, he has a $30 million coaching business, and it's just amazing. And the guy's super in depth. So the reason I say all that is because some of you guys are going to jot down and get some information today for free, and that is wonderful. We appreciate that. But if you want to do a deep dive, man, you might want to schedule a consultation call at least, because I'll give you some more value even on that consultation call. But Brittany, let's get into it. What's the first one? Researching communities. Oh, isn't that a drag? I mean, come on, it's a lot of work. I mean, how do we do this? I mean, what's involved in researching communities?
Yeah. I mean, from our perspective, if we're going from a placement agent, obviously when you're starting your business, you have to know what's out there. So you have to find out what's in your area, what type of assisted living. We say this on end, not every assisted living is the same. Just because they say assisted living, memory care, or whatever on the sign does not mean they provide the same type of things. doesn't mean they're set up the same, doesn't mean they're priced the same. So a lot of areas, I think, have an assisted living on every corner. So it depends on your market, but you have to research and know what is out there, because you have to make sure on the next one that you find the right communities. So if you're going from a placement agent side, you have to do your research to start your business to make sure you know what's out there. If you're a family looking for a loved one, you hopefully contact a placement agent and they do all this work for you, because as a placement agent, our job is to know and research the communities in our area. That is essentially why families would go through us as opposed to going on their own, because researching communities has to be the hardest part, I think. We will talk about the process. None of it's easy, but I think getting over the hump of knowing what's out there and knowing who offers what is the hardest part and the most time consuming.
We really got to actually know the market. Oh my gosh, I got to put some work in. Yeah, guys, you've got to put some work in this business. Man, don't fall prey to people who say this business is so easy. Just go to ChatGPT and you'll get all these different leads by just throwing your name out there and doing nothing. I'm telling you, man, if you want something worthwhile in your life, you've got to put forth the effort, right? It's going to take time. It's going to take energy. But hey, you real estate agents out there, we talked about earlier, it doesn't take that much time, especially with your skill set that's already in place. But yeah, researching communities and then touring viable communities. You mean, Brittany, I've actually got to get out there and walk through some of these communities?
Yeah, I mean, the most, like, when we're looking at senior living communities, touring them, I think, is super important. Anybody, no different than any other business, they can put stuff online, they can take pretty pictures, they can edit things, they can give you all the great things they say about themselves. But getting into a community, knowing what they have to offer, meeting the staff, looking at the residents, we teach in the Placement Institute how to do a viable tour and how to go through one, but really getting to know the feeling and basically shopping these communities like you're looking for your loved one. You have to know what they look, smell, what they have to offer. Again, not just the display rooms. You really need to make sure you know the communities in your area. So you have to go see them. And you have to introduce yourself as a placement agent on the business side of things as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, pictures and video don't tell everything, right? I mean, how many times out there you guys, including myself, have taken a picture of your family or something going on, you kind of want to tweak it a little bit, maybe retake the picture and stuff like that. Well, communities do the exact same thing, and it's no fault of them. They just want to put their best foot forward. But you've got to get out there and tour some communities and get the vibe, man. Get the vibe. There's some energy that you will pick up. I mean, just down in your gut. I mean, there's statistics, there's data out there with communities, what makes a good community, what makes a not so good, below average community. But man, just walking into the community, I can tell usually something is going on, especially if I'm not going in with a family, right? When you're going with a family, you're already touring. It's a different story because they're going, all right, they expecting someone to show up. But if you're just showing up unannounced, it's kind of like someone coming to your house, Brittany. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to pick up over here. This is not my best foot forward in terms of what my house should look like. I'm kind of embarrassed. Now, I never go through that, man, because my wife is like so meticulous. I'm so impressed with that. But I think it has something to do with not having small kids in the house, too. If I got small kids, I remember back in the day, my house could look like a train wreck sometimes. No offense to kids. I mean, I'm sure I did the same thing. But you'll get the vibe. And then when you get the vibe, it's going to lead you to the place of choosing the best community. Now, Brittany, how do we choose the best community?
So it's hard. I mean, every person. So when you're going to choose the best community for a client or for a loved one, whatever it might be, but in our, we're not really choosing them. We're giving them options to look at. So how you choose the best community is that exact person. So again, no assisted livings are the same. Neither are clients. So you might have some communities that are a good fit for some and some aren't. So you're looking at a lot of things. You're looking at their care needs, their budget, their location, what they desire, what they like to do. Is it an active community? Is it not an active community? There's so many factors to look at. So how you're choosing to present these communities to the families is all the data that you collected from your clients and your families that you're shopping for. And then you make sure that they're checking all those boxes to give them options to look at. So you're looking at the big picture. You're not just looking at price point. You're looking at what can they provide? Where's the location, and their reputation. What's their feeling? There's so many factors that go into it, but you're looking at their exact needs and their wants and needs and finding the best for that.
Yeah, I mean, I firmly believe there's a couple different communities that would be a best fit for mom. And there are literally, depending on your area, 20 communities, 100 communities, whatever it may be. And that is the fallacy that's out there, Brittany. A lot of people think all these communities are the same. I did a video just the other day. It's kind of like going to McDonald's, and it's just like, you're grabbing a Big Mac and you expect the Big Mac to be the same because you're at McDonald's. And it's not necessarily a true analogy with communities because they are different. They're unique. They take on a different personality. It takes on a personality type of all the way down to the investors, to the management group, how they run the community, to the executive director, how long he or she's been there, what's their style of leadership, the marketing directors, activity directors, the chef, that will determine how good the food is. I mean, the caregivers, how long they've been doing it, what's their heart. I mean, it's just, so many factors, like you say, go into it, but you really want to choose the best community for your loved one. If you're a family member and if you're a senior placement agent, make sure that you're given options to families that are ideal, is the best. And it goes beyond just financial considerations, right? I mean, I understand that is a big play. I mean, if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. But man, there's plenty of different options that are out there that I can get someone into a community, negotiate down, not negotiate like with a subpar community. I'm talking about a 5-star community, negotiate down sometimes, not all the time. Now, it's not like 100% proof, but how to do that to help assist families. Because Brittany, just like you and myself and others in our community, we're more advocates for seniors than anything else, more than a senior placement agent. I mean, we're not just out here just trying to make deals, even though that's what we do a little bit, and primarily to be profitable, to have cash flow. But we're ultimately advocates for seniors because we want the best for seniors. And if you truly want the best for seniors, you're going to work your butt off to get the best community for that individual, right? So, Brittany, as you find the best community, deposits, holding an apartment room, I mean, how much do I need to really put down? And, how long is the deposit, is it good for, and all that good stuff? I mean, what goes involved with making deposits?
Yeah, like you mentioned, not every community is the same. So this varies across the board. On average, I would say for assisted living, sometimes they have you do the community fee, which is a one-time fee that they charge, a non-refundable fee. Sometimes you can hold up with that. Sometimes it's $500, $1,000. So it really just depends on the community. Typically, the most I've ever seen is that community fee, and that is to hold the room. Almost always that is returnable. If you decide not to, refundable, sorry, if you decide not to move forward, you can get that back. Like say an assessment falls through, which we'll talk about that, or you decide to move a different direction or a loved one is no longer with us, that is refundable. And that essentially is just making sure that you know that you have that apartment or room, was just kind of referring to care homes where you can hold that. Because you'll see as we get through this, it does take a lot of moving parts. You don't just put money down on a room and then move in tomorrow. That's not how this process works. So the reason that being is you hold that apartment. So that way, if the community has more tours that day, more tours the next week, or whatever it might be, they can't sell that room. And a lot of this has to depend on like occupancy. So if you know there's only a couple left, truthfully, only a couple left, it would be very—
Truthfully would be the key word.
There's really only a couple apartments left. As a placement agent, typically we recommend our clients do put down a deposit, even if they're, 70% sure it's a good fit, because you don't want them to miss out on that. Here's a good example. If there's an apartment right next to the nurse's station and we know that our client is coming out of rehab, it might need a little extra eyes on them, or maybe this needs more support. It's right by the nurse's station. It's only 100 feet from the dining room, whatever that is. Usually we would probably suggest to hold that apartment. And that's just to secure it. You're not signing your life away at this point. You're not locked into anything, but that's how it works. Sometimes it's a fast move. You bypass this. I've had a lot of clients where deposits don't even exist. We pick the room. We're doing paperwork, as we'll talk about next, and getting the ball rolling. But deposits are if, you're looking for the future a little bit, or if you just have some time. I've seen everywhere from 2 weeks to a month. I really haven't seen over a month in assisted living that they will hold that room.
Absolutely. And deposits, you guys, especially if you go to a community. I got a story, Brittany, with independent communities, 250 apartments. And at the time, they probably had about 40, 50 apartments available. And that is one lady that was living by herself, and mom and dad, our son and daughter wanted her to get into a senior living community. So feel more safe and all the different reasons. And so you had a lot of apartments that are available. So why did this lady put down a deposit? Well, her particular room, one of the rooms that was available, was literally about 50 yards away from the cafeteria. That was important to her. But the other one, she was about 20 feet. This is kind of funny because I've only had one story like this, about 20 feet away from the bar area. This lady would consume a bottle of wine every night. And she wanted to be that much closer to happy hour when happy hour rolled around. And that was important to her. See, that's not something as a senior placement agent we typically think. Okay, she likes drinking wine, so let's get her closer to the bar, but in her, lifestyle, that was very much important to her. So we got her closer. So we put down a deposit. Now, with all it could be just different locations of the community as well. Like you want to be a corner apartment, or you want a better view of the fountain or the garden or whatever. And then when you get into care homes, it really becomes particular, because if you want to get into a really good care home, you better make sure you put down a deposit, because oftentimes they got 1 or 2 rooms available and that's it. Don't make the mistake I did years ago when I first started this business. There was a family that really wanted to get into this care home, and it literally had 1 room available. It was a Friday. And so instead of me saying, hey, put down a deposit to secure the room, what I did was say, yeah, take your time, because they need to talk to another family member just to make sure it was the right fit for mom and all kinds of other stuff. So they took the weekend to think about it. Well, when Monday rolled around and they wanted to get into that room, guess what? Over the weekend, that room was taken. So as a competent, which I really wasn't that great, I guess, at the beginning, but as a competent senior placement agent, make sure that you're able to secure the location of the senior of their choice. So make sure you get that deposit. And so like Brittany said, sometimes they're $500 or $1,000, whatever it is, but they are refundable until you take financial possession. We'll get into a little bit of that. Now let's get into the assessment piece. Now in our area, Brittany, in California, just the only exception that I'm aware of, California has a 602 physician's report. So there's really little to no assessment other than assessment the doctor will perform. But anyone in California, and this is an exception to the rule, so if you're in 49 other states, this will not apply to you. But in California, they're required, residents are required to have a 602 physician's report completed. It's a 6-page state document filled out, completed by a nurse, staff member, whoever, but must be signed by the attending physician or primary care physician. Someone like this, got to be signed by a physician. I can't do it. My wife was in medical 15 years. She filled out hundreds of these, never signed any of them. So, because she's not a physician, but you have to do that. Now, speak to me, Brittany, in Texas, Missouri, other states, because you don't have a 602 physician's report. How does the assessment process go?
So we do have a form that they send out. It's not necessarily super state specific like California, but there is a form that has to be signed by our physician. So similar, that has to be done. But both of my states, they have to have an in-person assessment, which this right here can delay. This is probably the biggest delay, and probably you can relate to the 602 form. Anything that has to do with the physician can be delayed by a lot. And then also just assessments, getting those set up, making sure that the nurse, because essentially the director of nursing at the community that you're choosing or leaning towards. So you put down the deposit, and now you're saying this could be a very good opportunity for my loved one or your client. So we need to set up an assessment to make sure they're a good fit, right? So you're hoping, if you're a good placement agent, they'll be a good fit because you've done your research, but this is just what they have to do legality wise and all of that. So the director of nursing will either go to where the senior is, whether it be rehab, in a home. I've even had people travel to a nearby state if they had to. They have to get their eyes on them. COVID made everything virtual, so they can do Zooms. But if they're local, almost always that director of nursing of the community will go to them, or you can bring your loved one in. A lot of times with assessments and assisted living, it's usually not a very positive thing. So we typically don't do that unless, let's say the family's already toured and they want mom or dad to come see it themselves. They can do the assessment while they're in the community doing a quick tour. So I have done that before, but a lot of times they go to you. It's anywhere from 15 minutes to 45 minutes max. Basically, all they're doing is that doctor's form that they filled out. We got signed by the physician. They're kind of just looking over them in person. So it's pretty quick. It's not this huge interview process. People get really scared about it, but it's almost like a conversation. They do some cognitive tests, what year it is, what's your name, those kind of things. Then they also will ask maybe for the senior to get up and walk to the bathroom, or get up and show them that they can walk a certain amount. And that's just proving everything the physician said. A lot of times, and the 602 form, I can't imagine, but seniors might not have been to the doctor for a while, or there might not be a lot of paper trail. So this is just for them to solidify what is going on.
Yeah, and just for clarification purposes out there, guys, for California, there is an assessment, but it's done by the community. So there will be a nurse or someone, it could be an executive director, someone in the community will go out and see the loved one, just make sure they're a good fit. But ultimately in California, you've got to have a 602 physician's report signed. To my knowledge, I don't think any other state is doing that. So that's kind of one thing I think California's done right, Brittany.
Yeah,
Outside all these high taxes in California, but hey, they've done that a little bit right. But let's get into it. So obtaining paperwork. If you're a senior placement agent, you're going to have to do this, you guys. It's more than a contact form, more than just a questionnaire and getting their ADLs, behaviors, and all that. But it's obtaining paperwork from the SNF and wherever else. But Brittany, go through a little bit about what kind of paperwork are we looking for? What kind of paperwork that is that we should be gathering for the senior?
Yeah. So a lot of times, like you said, if you're coming from a skilled nursing facility and rehab, depending on the relationship you have with that rehab, sometimes you will have to obtain nursing notes, H&P, which is going to be like physical therapy, occupational therapy notes, basically like a big package. I call it now like a package of paper with a bow on top. And your goal is to get all this paperwork together for the community so they can look at it and boom, like they have everything they need. So when they get the physician's report and they do the assessment, they have all these doctor's notes. It's perfect. The paperwork that we have in Missouri and Texas, just getting that form filled out by the doctor too. Sometimes it's the community's own paperwork that they make them sign off on. It's just part of their move-in process. So sometimes they will send it to me and then I have to go get the physician to sign off on that. So I literally obtaining paperwork is basically just getting everything they need with a bow on top. Sometimes not every move. It's already done, right? It's just moving so fast that a placement agent doesn't need to get involved. Sometimes the marketing director of a community is already on it before you can even get on it. So you just work together as a team. Some communities will obtain it on their own, but a lot of times, again, we're not name drops anymore. I would say I look at, medical referrals almost more than I sending regular referrals out just because we're getting so much information. So medication list, occupational therapy notes, physical therapy notes, all of that good stuff.
Man, so much involved in this process, Brittany. I mean, can't I just go out there and do this business by myself? I don't think so, you guys. Now, some of you maybe got some background, all this kind of stuff, the ins and outs. Now, we're kind of brushing over some things, obviously, in this video. We're just telling you, hopefully giving you some good value to, again, take notes and process it, but you really need to do a deep dive in this business. And if you really want to, man, get involved in a senior placements or two, drop down, click a link, schedule a consultation call, watch the webinar. I mean, unbelievable. But obtaining paperwork and then choosing a move-in date. I mean, whether they're coming from a skilled nursing facility and they have an actual discharge date, or whether they're at home and they're choosing a move-in date. So, I think that goes without saying, Brittany, but let's get into a little bit when you actually choose a move-in date and completing the paperwork and signing a contract with the community, sometimes signing a lease based on the department. What is that? Not so much what it looks like, because, man, I've seen paperwork and contracts with communities. Oh, yeah, you got it right, boy. They are huge, right? I remember the first one I saw when I was working for a senior living community years ago. I had my first move-in. Check this out, Brent. I don't think you ever heard the story, but I had my first move-in with a senior living community, and the person moved in at midnight. Oh, check that out. Yeah, they were coming from a different area about 3 hours away, and medical transport, for whatever reason, there was some scheduling issue or whatever. I don't know. But the person ended up coming and moving in and signing all of the contract. And they finished all up by midnight. So maybe they got there around 11:30, but he finished up around midnight. I was there. My wife was there. The nurse was there. I mean, I'm thinking, my gosh, is this typical? It's my first move in and it's happened at midnight. I mean, so that's atypical, I know. But I mean, the contract can be intimidating if you're really not knowing what you're looking for. My 2 cents, Brittany, would be for families and senior placement agents to remind families to do this, is what I always do, is get a copy of the contract prior to signing, because it is so lengthy. It's so long, you guys. It's so thick. Get a copy of it, take it home, and read it. If not, it's going to be like, you ever bought a car where you just go in, you got tons of paperwork, sign here, sign there, sign there. Are you actually reading everything? Probably not. If you're like me, I'm just kind of skimming over it. If it looks legit, I'm signing it. Well, I've seen that a lot with communities and families signing contracts because it's so long, it's so lengthy. They're like, my gosh, I can't read all this stuff. So get a copy, take it home, take your time, read it. That would be a great thing. I think, Brittany, what's your 2 cents on that?
Agreed. Yeah. And one thing that, of course, we're just skimming over this process, but when completing the paperwork and signing the contract, a good reason to get it before is to look at if it's a community that has care levels. make sure you agree with everything. So make sure you're agreeing with the fact that your mom's a level 2. And I know they're the experts, but just going over, making sure, like, if they charge for medication, okay, is there a reason why they're saying there's 11 medications she takes and it's only 5? Like, whatever it is. So I always say, check over the contract, ask of the care levels, ask how they determine the care levels. Find out, like, in that contract, how often do they review the care levels? What is the percent they go up every year? All that stuff is in the contract. So definitely get it before, because yeah, like you said, I mean, there's no way that the marketing director and or them are going to have that much time to go. That would take 10 hours, right? So they really, especially the large communities. So that's my advice. Take it home, review it. If it's a fast move, have somebody like a senior placement or agent look over it too.
Hey, can I give you guys a pro tip out there? And if you stayed this long in the video, 25 minutes into the video, I need to give you a pro tip. Here's a pro tip: how you can save money, okay, without going through the negotiation process. I always talk about, Brittany, in this industry is rent plus care equals cost, right? So let's say, and the care is usually non-negotiable, typically, but here's a way that it is a little bit negotiable. You ready for the pro tip? Here's the pro tip. You're in a community and they have a point system. So let's say you're moving in, keep the math easy, $5,000 for the room. Then they go, okay, based on your care level, because of our point system, you're looking at $6,500 because you're looking at $1,500 on top of the 5. A great community that's nearby, possibly, maybe they are $5,000 for the room, so that's equivalent, but they don't have a point system. They have levels. Care level 1, 2 or 3 ADLs. $4.99. Care level 2, 4, 5, 6, $9.99. Do the math. You may have saved yourself $500 knowing that little bit of a pro. Anyway, that's a pro tip. So that's because, Brittany, we actually do the business. That's why we can teach you, coach you these things out there. But let's get into financial possession. One thing I want to say about this, and I'll let you go with it, Brittany, is this is where your deposit is non-refundable. It's refundable up until this place right here, a financial possession. But once you get that key and the apartment becomes yours, typically, unless you have something in writing, you are committed. Right, Brittany?
Yeah. So at this point, like you said, no refundable deposit. This point, your lease has started, whatever you signed in that contract, if it's a year, if it's month to month, whatever it is, that has started on that day, meaning that you start paying. So financial possession means you pay rent. Some communities don't make you pay the care portion per day if the loved one is not moved in yet. Some do. Some don't care if they're not there. You're paying what you were quoted. So again, go back to that contract. But when you take financial possession, you have access to the room. So you have the key. Typically, as placement agents, we suggest families at this point start moving in their loved one's stuff. Make it look like home, bring their bedding, bring their bed, bring their furniture. Because another fun fact, if you're not in the industry, that assisted living, you bring your own stuff. So this is
bring my own stuff. I want it provided, man. I want everything. I don't want to move. Matter of fact, when I move from this house about 5 years from now, because we just moved about 6 months ago, and Brittany, I know you just moved a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't want to take any of it. I want that thing to be. I know. But sometimes with seniors, it's important that they do take their items because it may be some things they've had for a lifetime, right? They've had for 40 years, or it's so important for them. So yeah, I totally get it. But yeah, you need to take your stuff. So now we get into stuff, Brittany, moving personal items and furniture. This right here, I think you do an exceptional job. As far as the moving companies, things like that. You do more than I do on this level. So I'm going to defer to you and say, please talk to me about the importance of this and how senior placement agents can assist families in moving with their furniture and things like that.
Yeah. So like we teach, and obviously you want to be like a one-stop shop for your clients. So to make this, the whole goal of our job is to get seniors in the right place and put as less stress, get stress relief for the family. So our goal is to give them so much guidance that they don't have to worry about all the little stuff. So you can partner with local moving companies. I suggest local because they're amazing for this. Find somebody in your area that does a good job, because who you refer to reflects you. So find someone that you trust, that you test them, you refer to them. I have one in my area that he literally has done. I don't even have a client that says no at this point because he's done so many of my moves. And with him, we arrange everything. We make sure that the personal items are wrapped, protect. You got to make sure you get a good moving company. These are items that they could have had since their great-great-grandma, right? Because this generation really their things are important to them, a lot of them, especially women, and things that are looking at, like crystals or their dolls or whatever it is to bring to their new home. So yeah, just partnering with a good moving company can actually make this even less stressful for the family. And we're talking about time frame wise, it can make it like a one thing, like just a one shot, get all the personal stuff moved in. Then the next they be coming is the next thing we're going to be talking about. But the goal is to never do this. Never have your client sitting in the lobby while their loved ones are moving their stuff in. I've seen people do it. I've told them countless times, please do not do this to your loved one. It is the worst situation, and it's hurtful, it's painful, it's not fun. So getting a moving company set up, taking financial ownership, getting a moving company set up. If not a moving company, make sure your clients are moving the things in before. So mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever it is, walks in and says, this isn't home, but it's better. Like, it's my stuff. It feels a little bit homey. That's the goal.
I tell you what, you dropped a gold nugget there a few minutes ago. Who you refer to reflects you. Let that sink in, boy. That I might meditate on that one all day today. Who I refer to reflects me. That's crazy. That's crazy. And then the final step, Brittany, is the resident moves in. Oh my gosh, what a glorious day! What a wonderful day. Talk to me, Brittany, about your follow up. I know you do an exceptional job on this as well. In terms of, it's just not getting the senior into the apartment or room and then forgetting about the family. There is a follow-up that takes place. So the resident moves in. The average senior placement agent out there, the ones like, oh man, get the leads easy and it doesn't really matter. Just get, that completes the process. I get paid. Now I'm done. Wipe my hands off, this kind of thing. But man, that's not the end of the process. I mean, talk to me about the follow-up.
Yeah. So, of course, making sure that they get settled good, not being overbearing by any means is a very stressful process. But in some families, you connect more with than others. Some that are really fast that maybe you didn't get that personal connection with, or it was just one. I mean, we connect with all of them, but there's some that become like family, honestly. Some that years later you're still talking to. But you want to make sure they got settled in. You want to make sure that there's no issues that arise. We're not here to badger the community or do anything like that, but just be there for support. If it's something small, if they need a wheelchair, if they need a walker, whatever it is that, things do come up. I tell all families it's not perfect. There's going to be road bumps. This is a huge transition, but you're just there for support. So following up right after they move in, usually a week later. And then I do, tend to stay in touch, a couple months later, and then sometimes even a year. And another pro tip, if you've stayed this long, if you do stay in touch, unfortunately, sometimes that perfect fit's not a perfect fit a couple of years down the road. I have multiple clients that I've moved twice. So it is also a good business tactic, not a tactic to move them out of their home, but to be there for support if they need to.
Absolutely. Especially, I mean, the care levels change. And what I'm thinking about too, I've had multiple families, their loved one moved into an independent community. Mm-hmm. Now they offer some care needs there, right? So you'll have maybe med management, maybe a shower twice a week, something like that. But depending on their level of acuity, they exceed what they can do. And when that happens, they have to go somewhere else. So like to Brittany's point, if you're in, great contact with the family, I mean, you can end up moving that family or that loved one into an assisted living or memory care community down the road as well. So, but beyond the move in down the road, beyond getting paid again down the road, it's the sheer decency of this business, right? You want to treat someone's mom and dad like you would treat your own mom and dad, right? You want follow up. You want to make sure they're cared for. I mean, are you really in this business for the right reason? If you are, you'll follow up. If you're not in for the right reason, you're going to be exposed. I mean, you're just going to be like, okay, well, I got paid. Now I'm moving on. So don't move on because the senior didn't move on yet. The senior, make sure they're still, the community didn't change. There's a lot of different things going on about the resident moving in and follow up. But Brittany, I think we hit the highlights though, man. This is simply just a highlight reel of the process. If you want more in-depth understanding of this business, click the link below and schedule a call with me, or you can watch a free webinar and then you can schedule a call with me later on and get more information about this industry. But we truly did hit the highlights, you guys. I know some of you, because of the free content, I've done this before, you will go out and take these 10 or 11 points as like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I do and I'm going to be successful. You might be, but there's a lot of missing pieces in this. So we would hope that you would schedule a call or learn more about the industry via webinar. We'd love to help you. We have a strong community of 35, well, not 35, almost at 35 students, Brady. We got hundreds of students in 35 different states, but they're out there, plenty of testimonies. And Brittany does a midweek collaboration meeting, which is outstanding. We've got monthly workshops. We got one coming this weekend, Brittany, of a care home owner who owns multiple care homes, is a nurse, and she's going to be helping our students. We do that each and every month. Yeah, each and every month. A couple months ago, we had one of the best dementia specialists, I think, in the country, and she was on instructing our students and telling them all about dementia and different things. So if you want to know more about the business, let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, God bless.